There's something about lighthouses. They hold a special place in many people's hearts. There are currently efforts underway to preserve the Conimicut Lighthouse so that it will be able to keep on lighting the way.
Really weather beaten?
It was deteriorating rapidly.
The Conimicut Lighthouse. It's one of 16 lighthouses operating in Rhode Island. Conimicut is nearly 140 years old, and it's showing its age. We recently got an exclusive look inside the lighthouse to look at its condition and look back at its past.
The sun up and 10 minutes before sundown, you had to start the kerosene apparatus.
Fred Mickelson was a lighthouse keeper at Conimicut from 1959 to 1961.
Never felt bored or anything.
Now 83, he remembers those years above Narragansett Bay fondly.
So it was a good time.
He took this video in 1961 when sometimes 2 to 3 people would live at the light, keeping it maintained and in good working order, even during hurricanes like Donna in 1960.
Just around sundown, it had blown up through Connecticut.
Hurricane Donna brought winds of 80 to 100 miles per hour to this part of Rhode Island.
I went up to check the light, and the whole tower was moving. The windows in the kitchen, the first level galley, the room would go dark. That's how much water went by with some of those waves.
Fred has been out to the lighthouse but hasn't stepped foot into it since 1961.
There's a plaque somebody stole that should be over here on this side of the door.
So we showed him our footage of the inside.
There's my workbench. There's a hat of bites over here. I bang my knees on there more nights. trying to get up to fix the light. I'm buoyed by the thought that they will be able to stabilize the old girl.
The city of Warwick bought the lighthouse in 2004. After decades of neglect, the lighthouse sits in disrepair.
It was deteriorating rapidly.
Warwick Mayor Frank Picozzi, seeking funding for those repairs, invited state and local officials to the light, including the Speaker of the Rhode Island House of Representatives, Joe Shekarchi.
They're not building any more lighthouses anymore, so we have an opportunity to preserve this.
Sitting approximately 3/4 of a mile off the Warwick coast, the light serves as a warning for mariners to avoid the sandbar, which stretches from Warwick almost to the light.
Warwick Fire to the rescue.
In fact, while we were at the light, a sailboat was temporarily stuck on it. The fireboat which brought us to the light went to check on the boat. This still happens a lot.
It's very iconic, and it's a significant navigation tool, but it clearly needs an upgrade.
Shekarchi walked around the light inspecting old and new components.
This is what provides the power today, solar. In order for it to remain a navigational tool, the decision has to be made whether you want to save it or replace it or fix it into a point where it continues to do what it needs to be done.
Somewhere there's wood, it's rotted away. Some of the metal is rusted, basically like that. Salt air and water is hard on materials. So you can imagine, 50 years of that. It takes its toll.
Paint's peeling, the floor, part of it is rotting through, and obviously some of the metal is rusting through as well, too. So there is a bit of a safety hazard with it.
It was deteriorating rapidly. The structure still seems sound, but it needs a lot of work. Until you do a detailed analysis, you can't know the extent of that. Since last year, I've seen a lot more deterioration of the railings, the metal rotting. We just found a pole that was falling down.
Is it rotted?
They unscrewed. Some kind of a weather device. I think you would know better than I what it was, but it was just leaning over. We discovered it, and a nut had fallen off the bottom, so we just re-screwed it.
The mayor fixed the anemometer's pole, but further maintenance was requested.
I mean, we have vegetation growing through the outer decks. It's just, it's in a real mess, and it's just going to deteriorate more and more rapidly.
In 2021, Warwick applied for a community project funding grant. They have secured $775,000 in grant money to refurbish the lighthouse and create an educational kiosk on shore at Conimicut Point Park. Even with that grant money, Picozzi estimates that they're still $300,000 to $400,000 short.
The city doesn't have that kind of resources, but when we went for that landmark grant, we were able to get a lot of support from Speaker Shikachi and Governor McKee, because Warwick owns this. I mean, it's part of Warwick. It's an iconic part of Warwick.
This really needs a complete study to be done of what the cost is.
Shikachi said before state resources can be allocated, there has to be an engineering and feasibility study. Then it should be sent to a hearing.
Debate and a public discussion, and certainly public input. It has to be done in a very open and transparent way, and I think the best way to do that is through the hearing process.
He said that process could take a year. For now, grant money could be used to start the engineering and feasibility studies.
Now, this is specialized work. I don't think there are a lot of companies that do it. I mean, there's lead paint here, there's asbestos, God knows what else is here. We're in the middle of the bay, so it's an environmentally sensitive area. So this has to be done by pros.
I think there's opportunities for maybe public-private participation. We need to think outside the box, but I definitely believe that we can get there.
The nonprofit group Friends of Plum Beach Lighthouse, along with the DMV, have offered license plates to raise money for upkeep of the Plum Beach Light since 2010.
Plum Beach Lighthouse was a wreck.
They've raised more than $300,000 and painted the light 3 times since the plates debuted.
We make the analogy that we're a lot like Mount Rushmore. You can see it, but you can't touch it. Whereas I think Conimicut, I think they're hoping that they can get people out there to be able to visit. And that's a whole different story, a whole different level of cost involved, and a whole different level of repair.
In years past, there were discussions about turning Conimicut Light into an educational facility for local high schools and colleges, or even a bed and breakfast.
Get it to a point where it's weather tight, and then go from there.
Tom Kravitz is the city planning director for the city of Warwick and also went out to the lighthouse.
I think it's bigger than I thought it was.
Kravitz said it could take at least a couple of seasons to get the repairs done.
Certainly have enough to get started. We're fully funded for the project we need to execute just to get it weather tight.
No matter the future of the structure, to help mariners, something still needs to be here to light the way.
When the things are the darkest, that's when the light begins or something. I hope. I hope.